Dad, how did this get here? Didn't we just order it like a few hours ago?
When my older daughter asked that, I stopped for a second because it is a simple question with a surprisingly deep answer. Somewhere between a tap on a screen and a box on our doorstep, invisible systems spin up, data races across networks, decisions get made in milliseconds, and the physical world moves. It's fascinating to think what happens when you stream a song, book a hotel room, reserve a flight, or open an app and just expect it to work. All this technology is so fun, and I love working in this industry. I've spent my career building software and systems that make up the internet. I was CTO at Shopify and ServiceNow, and SVP at Slack, and early engineer at Cisco Systems, and now I'm CTO at Webflow. I've helped build data centers, protocols, software, and services, and led global teams along the way. This podcast is for anyone who wants to understand how our modern world actually works, not just shopping and delivery, but the invisible machinery behind nearly everything we do. It is for anyone who's ever wondered, how did this get here? Or how did that actually happen? I'm excited to take you on a journey, to take these layers of technology apart and explain them in a clear, grounded way. You probably think you connect to Wi Fi, you're on the internet, and away you go. Well, I wish it was that simple. I'm Alan Meinwand, and welcome to Pixels to Packages.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to Pixels to Packages. I'm here today, very excited. My friend Farhan Thawar. Hey, Farhan.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. So, as you don't know, Farhan and I worked together for a while at Shopify, know each other pretty well, and it's just really awesome to have you here. So, today we actually get to talk about commerce because what I've been doing so far is I sort of been laying the groundwork for actually talking about commerce. I talked about DNS and packets and the internet. I talked about how browsers work and box model and CSS and JavaScript and HTML. I talked about distributed systems and data centers and load balancers and CDNs. And I kind of wrapped it all up last time. I had this really fun episode. You got to go listen to it, buddy. It was, I was in a Waymo connected to Cloud Code. So I was in AI using AI to push AI. And I was this very recursive sort of thing talking about AI. So it was a really fun thing to think about what was happening inside the Waymo, what was happening inside Cloud Code, how the inference models were working, how it all used the internet plus cellular. I just tried to tie it all together. But I know what people who've been listening to this podcast really want to talk about is commerce. So tell us a little bit about your role and let's get started.
Sure. Yeah, so it's great that you did all those foundational episodes because we use has had an entire set of infrastructure to enable all of the things we do at Shopify. And yeah, so my role is I'm head of engineering. I've been here 7 years. I've worked on various things from in-person commerce, like point of sale, to online, and obviously the growth of online commerce. I spent a lot of time in infrastructure, in core engineering, and now, of course, in AI and AI enablement, but also how do we bring AI to our buyers and our merchants so that they can remove 12 from their workflows. So happy to see you again and happy to have a conversation wherever you want to go. And actually, well, I'm interested in your Waymo thing because we're using Claude Code from mobile, or did you pull out your laptop?
Yeah. Actually, I hooked it up for my AT&T phone and I basically was sitting on a laptop tethered to my 5G, driving through San Francisco in a Waymo. So it was AI and AI and AI. It was Inception with AI. It's kind of fun.
I love it.
So what I know that people are pretty curious about is, let's say you hit a Shopify store.
Yeah.
So pick your favorite store and you hit a store. What actually happens at that point? I mean, I know we go through the internet, we hit a load balancer, we got something in your case on Google, Google Cloud, but then actually what happens on the front end and the back end? Can you sort of start to tell us that story?
Yeah, sure. So when you are, so you're right. So let's talk about online commerce, right? Because this will be awful. You go into a store and you transact there. But for online commerce, typically what happens is you have either someone has told you about a brand, you already know about a brand. You might be using the Shop app to discover a brand. You might do a Google search or a Meta search or Instagram and be like, hey, I'm interested in buying something from the store or just browsing. And so what happens is you will go to what we call the storefront. It's a place where it's served from our CDN. You probably talked about CDNs, and yeah, okay, and it's typically like read only, right? Because you're just browsing. You might be clicking on the colors that an item is. Let's say you're interested in shorts. Okay, what colors does it come in? What sizes? And I look at other items. So I'm on I'm in a web experience. I might be on my phone or on a desktop, and I'm just browsing and I'm taking a look at collections. Maybe I'm getting recommendations. Maybe looking at, there's also like, 3D, right? You might be looking at a model and be like, hey, what's the size of this thing in my environment? So maybe using AR, but all those things are served by our storefront. And the way that works is it's actually distributed all over the world. So you have a good experience no matter where you are. So if you are in Australia or you're in the US, we are hopefully giving you a good experience because our CDN has distributed all of the imagery and text and data in a way that allows it to be very close to the buyer. So if you're in Australia, you're hitting like something close to where you are, and you're getting those return packets from a close location. And then sometimes it's happens too. You might start in Australia and then get on a plane and then go to, New York. And in which case, then you'll hopefully be routed to a New York server. And now you're still having a good and fast experience. And what's cool about that is because it's read-only, we don't have to store that much information about you to kind of move things around, right? Because you haven't done like an operation, like an add to cart yet. You're just like browsing. And of course, we want to give you a good experience and give you a good personalization and recommendation. But if you haven't signed in or you haven't hit add to cart, we are in a state where we can kind of serve you from anywhere. So another interesting thing from a resiliency perspective is if something happens, the server goes down or there's an infrastructure problem somewhere down the stack, we can just serve it from somewhere else, right? So if the New York server goes down, we can serve you from somewhere close. Worst case, we can serve you from all across the country, like California, but at least you're still able to like browse and move around. So that's like a storefront, and it's very much like read only. And there's lots of obviously complexities there. So for example, if we have like a bot attack or a flash sale, which is when, imagine like a Kim Kardashian tweets out, I've got like new apparel on Skims. We might have like a thundering herd come at us, and we use a combination of signals and our CDN to enable that to be a good experience for humans, and also for bots, because we have bots that also buy, and potentially we want to have a good lane for both of those types of users to be able to hit our storefronts and see what's available on the stores.
So I'm sitting in a Moon browser. I hit Skims. Maybe not me, but somebody hit Skims. And at that particular point in time, you're routing across the internet, across the fiber, into a data center, into GCP, across the load balancer, hitting your storefront. I know it's called storefront renderer. Yeah. At that particular point, you mentioned something interesting. You mentioned get recommendations. Is that a different call where like the storefront will now call to a different service through a different network, a different load balancer? And how does that actually work?
Yeah. So basically we've got the storefront, and then there are things that require more intense compute, right? So collections is one, because you might have a question called show me everything, as a merchant, you might say, I want to have a collection that's all new items or all blue items or all items under $10. And so the collection might be more compute intensive. You might have smart collections, which let you do things automatically. And so that's an example of another call to another endpoint inside of Shopify that would return the products that may make sense for you. It might be recommendations. It might be based because maybe you sign in and you're like, oh, we already know you, and so we know your size and we know the colors you like or the past products you purchased. That would be another endpoint inside of Shopify that would be called. So I think that there's easy ways for us to kind of give you a better experience, but that does require more compute, because it's not just serving, like you and I hit Skims at the beginning and we're not signed in and there's no, cookies. We should get the exact same experience and we can hit any server. But you're signed in, or if I'm already known to that site, there's going to be slight preferential treatment for one way or another. And you want that to be happening because you want to have a good experience as a user. And so we have more information about you. We can tailor the experience. We might say, oh, let's show men's items. Well, maybe to both of us, but yeah, maybe you want to show you pants that are longer, and I'm in Toronto. Maybe you want to show me things that are more for warm weather. And so those are the kinds of things that we can do once we hit the site, and we can start saying, okay, well, let's try to tailor the experience.
Yeah. So to put all that together, you hit the site, you think about the recommendations, you think about the cookies and maybe the user preferences, the query parameters for that site. Yep. That builds the HTML, which comes back across the internet, back to the browser, renders with a box model. And like the boxes on my screen might be different than the boxes on your screen, like you said, because you're getting warmer weather here in Toronto. I'm getting, cooler weather because I'm in San Francisco or something like that.
Yep, exactly. So those, like, the more information that the user can provide, right? Because sometimes you go to the site, is you actually click on men's or you click on items under $10, which might be part of the smart collection, and then we can do calculations and serve it to you. And other times we can do it automatically, as you might sign in and we now are saying, okay, let's preferentially give you a different experience because you've now told us who you are, and maybe we can use your past purchases on that site for that reason.
Very cool. Now I'm staring at the browser. I'm staring at my app on my phone. I've got a collection. I'm ready to go buy something now. And I hit add to cart. What actually happens there? Because that's like the next step in the transaction, right? Like it's the store from this one side, and then there's the cart with the cart promise, right? So how does that actually work?
Yeah. So actually, just one step before that is we will use inventory signals and to actually automatically like box out things that are not available, because we don't want you to add to cart like something that's, you say, okay, I want to get these shoes in size 10, and then you press it and it's like, oh, not available. We'd rather show it to you more upfront. So usually you can filter and say something like, hey, I'm looking for this size and maybe I only want to see things that are in stock. Or when you get to that product details page, we call it a PDP, you might already see that size 10 shoe is maxed out for that color. So you might say, oh, I want white because they don't have blue. Oh, they don't have blue. Okay, I want to have black. Oh, they do have it. Now you click add to cart, right? So we're getting information. And now you can add to cart. You're now doing an operation that takes you out of like read-only mode into like a session persistence mode, because now if you continue shopping or you move around the site, you notice that your little shopping cart has a little 1 beside it, because now you've added something to the cart. So the way that works is we actually can store in your session, so on in your browser actually, and the cookie, that you have added this item to your cart. And if you go to other parts of the site, if you even go away for a certain period, you might like close your tab, come back, let's say days or weeks later, and you go to the same site, you will hopefully see that that item is still in your cart, because we noticed that some people, obviously people want to browse, they want to take time to think about something. They come back like, oh yeah, I wanted to buy those shorts from Skims. Let me go back to Skims, and they realize that there's some things in their cart from last time, and they go, oh yeah, I never completed my transaction. Maybe they're waiting for free shipping. Maybe they're waiting for a sale. Maybe they're waiting to bundle more items. And so that can happen. The other thing that happens in some cases is merchants might use a tool to send you an email, because maybe you've signed in, you've added something to your cart, and it might say, hey, don't forget you've left this in your cart. And I know that I'm guilty of doing that. And then I go, oh yeah. And then I go back to the store and actually buy it. And it tends to be a good loop where they might send you an email. And then from the email, you might go back to the storefront and then buy that item. So
I've actually gotten texted in the past too.
Yeah,
the storefront, the store will text me, hey, you left this behind. Go check it out.
Yeah,
So
exactly. And because it's known to you, you've already signed in, or other signals can tell you that, hey, wait a sec, you might want to complete your transaction. So once you add it to cart, this is where it gets tricky, because imagine you leave the store and your cookie expires, in which case you come back and now you have to kind of start that transaction over. Or, the example, you're in Australia and you get on a plane. If you get in Australia and you get on a plane, we might not automatically be able to find your cart because we are routing you now to a closer region. So and that's like a thing that we choose to do, because I don't want to have to look across all sessions across all the world because you're in Europe to determine whether your cart was there or not. And that's our decision. Or in some cases, maybe we decide we do want to do that, which ends up being, a more extensive operation, but it might be better for the user if we did. And of course, as you know, cookies are on your local machine. They have a cookie expiry based on potentially what's actually in your browser. You might actually go in and delete your cookies or get a new machine, switch from desktop to mobile. And for those things, we can sometimes help identify, hey, your cart is still here on the store, and other times we can't. So sometimes you're like, wow, I went to my phone and my cart's still there. And other times you're like, oh, I went to my phone and the cart's not there. Or in our case with the Shop app, which is our consumer offering, we can actually help you see your cart from a store in the Shop app, which helps you convert as well. And so there are ways that we can kind of give you a good experience based on this now, this right operation that you've done, which is add something to your.
And what's fascinating to me about that is like different clients, the phone, the app,
Yep.
the browser, the desktop browser, the laptop browser, they're all sort of connecting into the same back end, and they have that same knowledge of who you are, assumably passing some sort of user ID, some sort of persistence key that says this cart belongs to Alan, this cart belongs to Farhan, and this is what to bring up when they go back into the app. So all that again is happening over HTML, over TCP, going into the servers, and it's all like so fast that that's the part that's just fascinating to me. This whole podcast started with my daughter was like, I ordered something and it showed up an hour later. How did that actually happen?
Yeah.
And just thinking about the magnitude of all this over the scale of, I don't know, the internet. It's just wild to me. It's just really, really fun.
And there's interesting problems that we as like nerds need to think about. So for example, let's say there's one pair of shorts and now I add it to the cart. And then let's say I haven't done anything and now somebody else actually finds the same pair of shorts and adds it to their cart. Because in reality, those shorts are not sold yet. So there's kind of different ways to think about that transaction. One way is when I add it to the cart, I can reserve it. So if you ever bought tickets from like Ticketmaster, before you complete the transaction, it'll say, these tickets are yours for the next 10 minutes.
Yeah, you have to rush to get your credit card to pay real quick, right?
Because you have 10 minutes because it's reserved it for you. And for us, we have different strategies that we can think about where we are like, should we optimistically lock, right? Or I guess it's called pessimistic locking because you're locking in advance, right? Or do I want to just be like, okay, I'm okay to tell the user if they get further down the path that it's been gone since the time you put it in your cart. So I put it in my cart, I waited too long, someone else put it in their cart and they checked out. Now when I go to check out, the tickets are gone. In my case, the shoes are gone. And now I have to make sure that I am faster next time, right? So
I just keep picturing like a Black Friday sale and somebody literally taking something out of somebody else's cart along the way, right?
Same thing. You're right. Right. You're in the mall and you have something in your cart and somebody comes over and takes it from your shopping cart. Like that's exactly what's happening here. And depending on the brand, they might want to ask you more questions. So for example, they might ask you during the cart ad phase, hey, what's your postal code? What's your zip code? And the reason for that is they want to show you, maybe it's a free shipping offer. Maybe it's, hey, they want to tune your inventory to some warehouse that's closer to you. They might want to estimate shipping costs. They might want to estimate taxes. So there's a bunch of things, again, depending on the brand, they might ask you at that stage, or they might ask you later when you get to the actual checkout, which we will talk about. But right now you're in like I'm in a mall. I was browsing before. Now I've got a shopping cart. I'm putting stuff in it. And that's what that's why it actually, if you look online, it's a shopping cart. It's literally the skeuomorphic design of like, it's a shopping cart. Should feel like a shopping cart. It's now like in my cart.
What's fascinating to me is depending on where I am, and more specifically, depending on where the internet routes me, I might get different mall items, right? I might be able to think, I'm sitting in San Francisco, and if I'm using a VPN or I'm using some sort of other connection, or TCP connection pops up in New York, Shopify might think I'm in a New York mall as opposed to if I'm in a San Francisco mall. And that could determine the inventory I see, as well as the shipping rates I'd see, and all sorts of other things. So,
hey, you could even more. For example, in Shopify, you might say, hey, for our New York customers, I want to give them a specific promotion, right? And we could do things like we can offer you a bundle discount. We could offer you something, might be able to pop up and say, hey, for people in New York, we're offering you can buy online and pick it up in store. Maybe you want it today. Maybe you want to put it in your cart, but I actually want it today. And it'll say, oh, let me just pick it up in store. And the store is like near you. So you might buy it. And I've done this before too, where I buy something, I get an order ID, and then I go to the store and I pick it up the same day. You could do the opposite, by the way. You could go in store and say, I'm in store, you don't have the thing, or it's too big, ship it to my house. And so there's so many different combinations of things you could do that.
All right, so we got a cart. It kind of depends on where we are on the internet. We're connected over the store via the internet. We've gotten our browser, we've gotten our HTML back, we've been served up by the CDN, the storefront renderer, and now we're ready to check out.
Yes.
So tell me about that, because that seems to be the next logical step. I pull my wallet out, my virtual wallet out, and I'm ready to go.
Yeah, and so now you've got one or more items in your cart, and you're ready to go to the next phase, which is I actually want to check out. And so this is in the physical world, this is you walking up to the cashier, right? And so what happens here is we now move into the checkout phase where we are doing a couple things. One, there's a bunch of things happening at the browser level and a bunch of things happening at the server level. So one, we get to a checkout page. And that checkout page is one typically where it's I need your information, name, address, payment, etc. But I also want you to confirm everything, like shipping and everything that's in your cart. And the things that happen to the browser are, it might want to pre-fill information. So when you go to a website, you type the information and it says, oh, you start typing A, there's an online one, it just completes it for you. That's happening on your browser because it's saved information locally. It may also save your credit card locally because it stores it in a secure location inside the browser. It might say, oh, do you want to use this credit card that I have on file? You might choose an accelerated payment option. Shop Pay is one example. So you go there, it says, oh, Alan, you bought from a Shopify store before and you're a Shop Pay user. Can I help you by pre-filling your address, pre-filling your credit card, and you can just hit pay now, and it quickly accelerates you through that process. It'll track it in the Shop app and kind of give you that great experience. You might want to use
By the way, that is a really, really powerful and dangerous button. I use it all the time.
Well, what we learned and what the data shows is that even if you don't use Shop Pay, but the purple button is there, you feel trust with the brand. We're like, actually, I know this is a legit merchant because it's got a purple button, and I feel good even if I don't use Shop Pay. And then you might want to use another payment method. Maybe you're a PayPal fan or a Google Pay or Apple Pay, and you like that experience and you want to use one of those payment providers. Those typically are offered as well by the merchant, so you might want to use those. Or you might be like, you know what? This is a gift or a one-time purchase in the store. I want to check out as a guest. So yes, you have to give you my email and address so that you can send me a transaction notification. But I do not want an ongoing relationship with you because it's a one-time purchase for me. Or the opposite. I want to sign up for your marketing. I'm going to click on this button. I'm a big fan. I want to be on your mailing list. I want to join your loyalty program. Like, it could be that version too, in which case you give it information and you give it all these permissions to give you all those things. So that's the page. So you filled in all your information, or you've gone through one of these accelerated methods. It shows you a final confirmation of everything in your cart and the taxes and duties and shipping and anything else that you might care about. You hit pay now. So what happens there? So what happens is we go through what's called a checkout negotiation. This is the final step where we are converting your cart into an order. And there's lots of things that can happen here. One of the things we already mentioned, which is we have to for sure recheck if the inventory is still available. So even though we've done these checks, we still do one final check, which is why sometimes you're like, you get there and it's like, oh, it's no longer there. This is the equivalent of someone taking it out of your cart. And because you thought you had it, but actually turns out like maybe by the way, maybe some stores actually share inventory with their store. Maybe someone was in the physical store and bought the shoes and now they don't have it available. And if that system is one system, it'll decrement the inventory. And you are going through this negotiation where we finalize everything. We check the tax rates, we check the shipping again, we check the inventory, and then we lock it and we convert it to an order. And when we're going through that, you see a little spinner. It says, do not hit the back button. Do not, because usually that could cause another submission. And we call it finalizing the order. We finalize it. And what happens is it converts it into an order, which is now like a read-only object. Because if we do have something called order editing, but it's really like an appending of the order because I have a history. But we are now turning it into an order. We lock in all the, pricing, shipping, taxes, all the things, the inventory. We decrement the inventory, so now no one else could take it from you, including in the store, by the way, which can happen sometimes where they have stock in the back room and someone will literally go and tag it and be like, this is now taken. And that turns into an order in a way that you will get the email confirmation, typically very quickly. If you're using your Shop app, you might get a notification saying now being tracked by Shop. So you can see that the order was done. And we move into this fulfillment phase from the merchant side. So it will show up in their ledger as an order to fulfill, and they will get the same information, which is here are all the things. They might have, if it's one item, they might just pack and pick the one item. If it's 5, they might gather a bundle and put it together for you and then get ready to ship it. And what's cool about Shopify is you can not only do that entire operation and click on it and say, I want to fulfill. You can also print out a shipping label and, literally affix the label to the package and then get it sent out to you, which is then moving into tracking.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I know when we were working on this together, the most important thing was getting the user from the cart to the checkout and getting the checkout to execute as fast as possible because
Yes.
we all know this, right? We have it in the cart. We're ready to check out. We're like, I don't want to spend a bunch of time at the cashier. I just want to here's my card, let's go. And then move on to the next thing. And I know you all spend a lot of time and we spend a lot of time talking about, making that checkout work incredibly fast, making sure the sessions work incredibly fast, making sure the payment providers are tied in through the payment gateways the right way. All that is incredibly complicated behind the scenes. And it's all these connections going to all these different places across the internet. And as far as, the buyer is concerned, like you said, it's pay now, and then boom, done. Here's the email, shows up on my app, and I'm good to go. It's stunning how quick it all occurs and how many things actually occur behind that button.
Yeah, and what we didn't actually talk about, actually the payments negotiation. Because one of the things that can happen is you might put in an incorrect credit card number, or you might, sometimes this happens, you have an expired credit card on file, whatever, and it won't go through. And so what happens at the payment negotiation stage is that between Shopify and the payment gateway, it could be auth.net, it could be Stripe, it could be PayPal, we have a negotiation where we give the encrypted information to the provider in a way that they can actually figure out if this is a valid card, has the funds, is not fraudulent, all those things, sends us back an authorization. And then we come back to you and say, yes, this has gone through. You might see on your phone, if you use Apple Pay, whatever, like it shows up as a notification, like this has been paid. And that is part of the negotiation because sometimes, if that fails, obviously we don't want the merchant to fulfill an order where the payment hasn't gone through. You want to know right away that actually I need to use a different credit card, or I want that my gift card, etc. And so that's part of that whole negotiations. When it's finalized, the payment has also gone through. And we spend a lot of time on authentication rates and fraud. So for example, at Shopify, if a person uses a fraudulent credit card on any one of our millions of sites, we're hopeful that in real time that credit card cannot be used, once we identify it, cannot be used anywhere else on a Shopify site. So the network actually gets smarter over time by just having these signals propagate throughout the entire network.
Very cool. No, it's really impressive how quick it all occurs. And now we actually get to fulfill, right? So we actually get to do the fulfillment part. So we actually, this is to the pixels. Everything we've talked about so far is all pixels and electrons and, waves of light. But now we're actually talking about like packages. So actually fulfilling the packages. And that's fascinating too.
Yeah, and it depends on the size of the merchant, right? So you could be an entrepreneur who's just started their business and be at home. You've got this fulfillment page, and I see all these images and videos of people. They got like a kitchen set up, and they've got boxes and labels and products, and they're using the Shopify order screen to basically be like, okay, I need to fulfill this order. What goes in the box? Can I bring my shipping label from here? Let me close it. And then they do they pack the box. They obviously put their personalized touches on it. They might write a handwritten note. They close it up. They put the shipping label, and then they can say when they, either fulfilled there or when it's in transit, but it's already fulfilled from their perspective. And they literally show these images of boxes at the door that they then have to drive to UPS or Europe, US Postal Service or FedEx or whatever. And then in their mind, it's like now shipped out, and then it goes to like the tracking page. But it's kind of a visceral experience because for them, this is now also it was pixels for them, right? These orders are coming in, and now we're into packages because they've got to convert it into the thing that they're now sending their users. Now, of course, there's like people who do sell digital goods and things like that where they don't have the packages side. But for the people who are selling physical goods, there's a fulfillment stage. Now, if you're a bigger merchant, you might do anything from work with a warehouse to use Fulfilled by Amazon, where those orders are automatically flowing into an order management system and a fulfillment system such that there's a third party that's taking care of that for you. And they might let you know, hey, by the way, these shoes in size 10 are running low. You might want to order them from your manufacturer to refill it in the warehouse because a lot of people are ordering those. They will typically handle that for you, but you're at some large scale where you're not doing that by hand.
Yeah, I don't picture the Kardashians picking and doing things on their own. So.
No, correct. Yeah, they've got the volume to have like a warehouse and a setup there. By the way, go from one warehouse to multiple warehouses. How do you, route? It's an interesting problem, right? How do you route people to the correct closer warehouse? So if you say you want shoes size 10 and you're in San Francisco, should I show you the ones in New York or not? Because there's different delivery timelines and also delivery cost to send it to you, right? And so those are kinds of things that we want to show you when you hit add to cart as well, because you might say like, oh, delivers in 3 days, and that could depend on where it is in the country and which warehouse it's filling from. So again, lots of interesting problems as we navigate through like something that looks super simple, which is like ships in 3 days.
Yeah, I know. It all seems so simple, but like you said, that pair of shoes or that Skims item, it might be in N warehouses across the planet. Which one has it in inventory? What's the shipping fees for each one? How does it actually get off the shelves into the truck? I'm going to do a whole episode on that because that's a whole different discussion about robots and pick and pack and all sorts of fun stuff. I don't think we have time to talk about that today, but that's a whole different topic, which is just fascinating.
Yeah, it's not
So what do you think?
Yeah,
Good.
I'll say each step of the process has its like green path flow, which is super easy and flows through. Then it has like more like we didn't talk about like checkout shoes and like how do we think about having like like you think about this like buying tickets for Taylor Swift concert, right? What about buying like again Kim Kardashian like apparel and like having 100,000 people try to buy at the same time? So lots of complexities can occur as the stack gets more home.
And then, since we're here in 2026, we got to talk about AI. So now you even mentioned it, bots are buying on behalf of people, agents are buying on behalf of people. How does that throw itself into the mix? How do you think through that agentic commerce? If I'm sitting in ChatGPT and say, find me size 10 shoes of this style, go. Like,
Yep.
I know we're all working on that. So how does that actually happen?
Yeah, there's two sides to it. There's there's the merchant side, which is like, how do I reduce the toil of the merchant, the business owner, when, hey, how do I update my tax settings? How should I think about ordering more inventory? Can you show me a record of what the biggest selling items were for the last week? All those things are now enabled by AI inside of Shopify because you quickly ask Sidekick these questions. And then as a buyer, you're right. Do I go to ChatGPT and say, show me shoes? Or do you say, hey, I'm getting interested in running, or I want to run a marathon. What equipment do I need? Or what should I buy my daughter for her grade 8 graduation? And then it starts showing you products. So I think that there's very interesting discovery surfaces for that. There's obviously like word of mouth and Meta and like Instagram and Facebook and Google searches. But now AI is a new surface for you to like actually discover new products and potentially in a very detailed and narrow query, like show me shoes that are size 10 that are cool, or what did I buy, for my hiking trip. We're noticing obviously that more and more people are using AI, as you can imagine, and we're starting to see more of that kind of traffic appear. So we'll see, what size that channel ends up being over time.
Yeah. I can even imagine, going back to my last episode, sitting in a Waymo on a cell phone over 5G using ChatGPT to buy something. Like, it's again, how many layers of AI can we use? But it's all so cool.
Yeah, it's so interesting because also the pattern of the user, right? So for example, when I get a product recommendation, I tend to want to go to the main sites because I want to see like what else you got, right? If I'm in this product, whoops, yeah. And then other people, we are like, hey, you gave me the exact product, just buy now, right, from that surface. So I think that's going to be interesting to see the various modalities of like just buy it now versus like, hey, like, kind of like one click buy versus like, hey, I want to see what else you have, what are the colors, what are the sizes before I purchase.
Yeah, I remember we used to talk about people walking by a store and like literally taking a picture of an item in the window and just saying, just buy me one of these and have it shipped to my house. I don't even want to go in the store. And other people might want to browse the store for a while, right?
Yeah, exactly. So you might, and the difference is like you could also walk by the store and be like, I want that exact shirt. Or I go into the store and you see a shirt you like and race like, oh, that one's nice and that one's nice. And so like you kind of like, you start figuring out what you want to buy from that experience of like browsing.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think that is like as we've talked about a bunch of different things here, but what do you think is the one thing that people underestimate about commerce in terms of its complexity? What's the one thing where like no one understands how complex this really is? What is it that like stands out to you in that question?
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing that's interesting is like it looks easy, and I think it should feel easy. But the whole point of like why like a Shopify or other services exist is because we're trying to make the time that you spend on your business focused on the things that are value add for you. So if you're building, let's go back to shoes. Let's say you're a bespoke shoe manufacturer. We want you to spend all your time like making amazing shoes, researching materials and designs and spending all your time there and talking to customers and telling your story. Like that's it. We don't want you to have to spend time thinking about like, hey, is my site up and how do I configure like point of sale and how do I think about bots and how do I fulfill with the right shipping labels and how do I think about inventory and shoe shipping and duties and taxes and loyalty and all that stuff. Like we want to take a lot of that toil away from you. Of course, we want you to customize it, but our goal is to like we spend most of your time on your business so we can take that toil and do what we're really good at, which is the infrastructure side. So I think people underestimate Like I talked to this person who was like, I'm gonna vibe code my storefront. I'm like, great. They vibe coded it all, they hooked it up, and then they go, this is so cool. And I was able to take sales. And then they're like, wait a sec, how do I do fulfillment and orders and tracking and inventory and sales? And then shit, how do I file taxes and like all that stuff? And they messaged me and I go, oh, this is why Shopify exists. Like you can, of course, vibe code. You can still use your vibe coded site and headlessly and set up the APIs to hit Shopify in the back end. But the whole reason for the rest of it is because we're trying to make that easy for everybody such that they can focus on their business. And now this person is focusing on, unfortunately, taxes and orders and fulfillment, and because they just vibe coded a site. So I think there's a place and time to kind of figure out where you want to spend your resources. And so if you're going to vibe code a site, cool. Just have the APIs hit Shopify in the back end so you don't have to worry about the rest. But I think people underestimate the complexity of commerce. The other thing I will say is just checkout itself is so interesting, right? Like I've mentioned buy it now versus the beauty of an entire checkout experience flowing through. And so we developed UCP with Google because we felt like when you go to whether it's ChatGPT or Gemini or Cloud or anywhere in the new LLM world, and you see a checkout, it should reflect the brand. It should be branded. It should have the complexities of shipping and duties and taxes and all that stuff flow through. So you get the full experience. Just like you go into a store, you walk into Walmart or you walk into Alayota, they feel different. And so that experience should feel different online.
No, totally makes sense. Totally makes sense. Well, Farhan, this has been fascinating. Thanks again, buddy, for joining me. Love chatting with you. Used to do this all the time.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to this episode of Pixels to Packages. Next time, we're going to probably talk a little bit more about AI because that seems to be the topic du jour. A little bit more about logistics and continue to figure out how we get those pixels that Shopify serves, that all these merchants present to our screens, turning more into packages. That's all. Thanks, Farhan. See y'all soon.
Bye.